everybody. Hello, Luzhniki. I always wanted to say that. It is very nice to say that, irrespectively to the Sunday morning, we still have those people who came offline to listen to our presentation. And we would like to begin this day, if you'll pay attention to the program, with diving into what happens on the other side of the barricades, because Positive Hack Days, respectively to the word hack and the name, is dedicated to how can we defend ourselves, how people are attacking, and how various hacker actions are happening from technical point of view. And I would like to speak about what is happening in this cyber underground from the business point of view, because it did happen that very often we are looking at the hacker activity from the point of view of technological side of the question. However, we have to understand that this business, and I will mention the word business on many occasions because it's built on a very understandable laws whose knowledge allow us to understand what will happen in the future, what should we get ready for, and effectively prevent, predict, and proactively resist to this. And this is the main objective of any specialist in cybersecurity. If you look at the program of previous 3 days, and today we're going to speak about it as well, so that cybercrime has been diluted in the program in a very small strokes, where we have a very deep dive in different aspects, hacking different systems, conversations about different groups. Like there was a presentation during the technical track about pricing in darknet, and each of these fragments comes into a general puzzle picture, but nobody practically looks at hacking from the point of view of business planning, business modeling, and I even have a suspicion that hackers don't always think about their activity from this point of view. But if we are going to look at this from the point of view of the bird sky, well, the picture is not beautiful only from the point of view that we are looking at hackers from the point of view, okay, these guys in hoodies, in Guy Fawkes Maxes, during the night, hacking something, lonely people, pizza, energy, or beer cans. So if you will put it in Google or in Yandex, the word hacker, the picture will give you this lonely hacker picture, which is involved in this type of activities. He is writing the malicious code. He is also putting this malicious code in different platforms, internet sites, etc. He is searching for vulnerabilities, and he also sells his malicious creations. But in reality, everything happens differently. Hacking groups are dozens of people. Everybody has their own role. And from the bird's eye, it is visible that hackers are the same security guys, but with the sign minus. But not only security guys, but any company, but only with the sign minus. The same laws, the same rules, the same models, only working against what is happening and against all of us, state and business. But what is the main objective of any business? The main objective of any business is to earn money, is to grow, to increase profits and reduce costs. So this difference between profits and costs is put in the pocket as a net profit for the business. The same thing happens on the other side of the barricades. When you start thinking about how much is being earned by hackers, you understand that this problem will never disappear, because tens of millions of dollars are made by any group and this money stimulate appearance of new and new and new and new hacker groups, which will continue doing that. So if we are going to look at what was happening before 2022, the same thing was, and starting from 2022, at least in Russia, picture has changed significantly. We see less financially motivated crime, we see more geopolitically motivated crime, but we understand that this geopolitical tension is dropping, and once again we see those financially motivated criminals raising their heads, and they start earning money, they start attacking, they start demanding ransom for their activity. And I think that by the end of this year, maybe the next year, we will come back to the previous situation, and we are going to look first of all at hacking as a real business model on which many people earn money. So what is business model? If you will look at any company where you've been working, where you've been learning, if you will look at university, at some kind of a business, maybe a little bit less business, but in any university there is a commercial component, there's paid servicing, there is also an objective to earn money and not to live on subsidies. Then we have a picture that we have key types of activity, and this is something that business is doing. This can be development of the software, positive or negative. This could be oil pumping, this can be car sharing, this can be learning. No, doesn't matter which type of activities are available. Hackers have different of those. Second thing is, why should we come to the business and why should they buy it from him? This is some kind of a value proposition, and you can pay attention. I will show you some examples that hackers, maybe they didn't have MBAs, I don't exclude that, but very often they work much better than many companies involved in software development, IT products, etc. And companies of this IT type of appearance, and they are created by technical people, by cool technical people, but at the same time, non-educated from business point of view, direct approach. I've created a cool thing. Okay, let's sell it. And then we see dozens of similar things, and everybody sell them under the same roof. And hackers look at this and they understand that cannot be done like that, and they start offering different forms of support, offering turnkey development, offering some additional services, additional value in order for the clients of the malicious software or services would come to them and buy and extend subscriptions, etc. Then we have two ways of cooperation with target audience, with the consumer segments. These are sales channels, the way how we work in a given case. And when I say we, I mean legal business, and we also broadcast it on the illegal business, and also relations with clients, various support services, various other support services, various channels, to support through Telegram, support through sites, etc., etc. Chatbots, hacker universities, which are involved in updating skills for potential or existing hackers. Then we have a story with consumer segments, to whom these hacker products or services are being sold, who is the main target, and there are different categories. We're going to look at them, and everything ends up with money story. We're not going to speak about that due to certain reason, and about pricing. And in darknet there already was a presentation in technical track, and you will be able to look at it in recording on phdays.com site or on the YouTube, and this presentation has already been posted. And the second thing why I'm not going to speak about pricing so that I would motivate anybody to go there, even though I understand that if you came to listen to me, this topic is interesting to you, but it's interesting from the research point of view and not from the point of view of going to the dark side and go under the influence of criminal articles, criminal code of our country and criminal codes of any country of the world. Also, I'm not going to speak about the cost structure, how much it costs to create the malicious code, how much it costs to create malicious infrastructure to organize attacks, abuse-resisting hosting, infrastructure for phishing, mailing, malicious software, DDoS attacks, and this is not interesting, basically speaking. What money are spent by hackers when they create their own infrastructure. And of course, there is no single business that exists by itself. The business has to be scaled to earn more and more money. That's why there are different partnership programs, and hackers do have them. Like Positive Technology has a big number of partners. Hackers also have their own affiliation programs where they attract new agents who deliver this dark light into masses. They hack more and more companies, people, organizations, etc. And by these owners standing behind this malicious business earn more and more money. So the first stage is what products and what is being done by hackers. Same way as in regular business, in IT business, everything was started through some products in their classical understanding, some alienated story. Well, the malicious code was developed, it can be encoder, it can be remote access tool, this can be Trojan, this can be something else, this can be some obfuscator, maybe some packer, etc. Well, the examples of malicious programs can be different, and they are being posted on the market or through some cyber underground. It's being sold, and after it was sold, hackers or their developers are involved in some other objectives, new developments, etc. The same thing is related to vulnerability. Vulnerability was discovered, it was sold to other hackers, sold to some stock exchange, or maybe sold to some state which uses this information for their attacking operations. Doesn't matter. Also, as a product, they're looking at the software for the exploitation of vulnerabilities, exploit packs, exploit kits, databases of stolen information. Recently, this is also not a bad product, but due to the fact that more and more information is being leaked about us in the internet, this product becomes less demanded. Or the owners of these databases, they have to provide some additional fields which didn't exist previously in databases and for which somebody wants to pay money. Also, speaking about this product, this could be botnets, not as rented facilities, but also as a full-scale product that was given, and it can be used differently. And the same story with internet traffic, which is being sold to lure users to different sites, malicious sites, infected sites, and infect more and more users. And in here you see three examples, three announcements of sales of access to infrastructures to different companies and whose perimeter botnets, Fortinet is installed, and this is a good proposal on the dark market. Please pay attention that the price tag is different because the pricing, depending from who is offering this, who works on the market, what is their reputation on the other side of the barricades. And reputation is not an empty sound. How much is the person is well known in the darknet? Has he been lying to his clients? And this happens all over again. not only in legal business. And from these, the cost will depend and what can be done by potential buyer with this information. One thing when they sell simply vulnerable firewall and nobody knows what's behind it, can you drop the chain inside of the vulnerable infrastructure? Can you realize some inadmissible event? And the other thing is when this information is truthfully sold together with vulnerability, and the criminal who buys this data perfectly understand that we see the company has a turnover of $54 billion and the cost of vulnerability 20,000. The price of access is a very high, above average price, but in a variant that I will show you next one, the turnover of the company $36 million or $9 million. The cost of vulnerability is only $500, or the cost of this access. It's a very cheap access, which means that criminals just have found it somehow, scanned it with shutdown senses or some of their own tools, and the perimeter was discovered, Fortinet, and they decided to sell this information without no knowledge how it's going to be used. It's a lottery. Will the buyer be able to use this for his own good and against the vulnerable company with this information or not? So please pay attention. It's not always that the price of the product is always correlates with turnovers of a vulnerable company whose access is being sold on the dark market. And speaking about products, there's a certain number of problems. There's a lot of risks. High qualification is required for development of the product. Also, there's a need for resources, sometimes very big resources for development. For example, if you will look on the example of this hype topic with artificial intelligence, Ida Zinovskina yesterday evening was saying how the hackers are using artificial intelligence to organize attacks, because in order to do that, hackers should have very serious financial capabilities, because you have to deploy these learning models somewhere. You have to find these data sets. You have to teach the model on these data sets. You have to regularly upload new data sets for additional learning of the model. And those of you who did work with companies like OpenAI, Yandex, Sber, and other ones, you do know that price for learning your model is very pricey. It's not a cheap pleasure. Hackers also have the same problem. They also need cloud or computing capacities. They have to deploy it somewhere. So not every hacker or hacker group has a platform for learning their models of machine learning. And it is very important to understand that this is not a high marginality for a hacker. That's why many of them go into the story with services, subscription model, and selling services. And on this screen, you can see a fragment of one of the forums where the owner of Logbit encoder, which recently was actively discussed in a legal open press and in the darknet, and together with specialists of cybersecurity, there was a discussion that person thinks that he didn't lie to anybody, but somebody is against him, that he stole something from some user who sold him access to various infrastructures. And here's a classical story. If you will take the word a logbit and mentioning of malicious programs, it's a classical discussion of a client of a various IT company with the IT company. When somebody have sold a product, have not described the conditions with which this product has to be utilized, and then they start providing claims. Buyer says that no, everything is wrong, but the seller says, but we disagree, but what's against us, etc., etc. So criminals have the same situation. That's why they have different arbitrations, different guarantors who provide to resolve these type of conflicts. And this also works better than in legal business world, because in the legal business world, if you disagree about something and you were not able to agree, you go to the court. Court takes this for review or doesn't take these cases for review. You need lawyers who will prepare a lot of papers with certain rules. On the other side of barricades, nothing like this will happen. Everything is being solved in a simpler way. That's why this business, unfortunately, is much more effective than legal business, which is limited by big amount of topics related with licensing, accreditation, certification, taxes, etc. On the other side of barricades, nothing like that is available. That's why criminals go to the service model, understanding that you cannot make a lot of money on classical products. They go into a service model, and please pay attention. There's a big amount of different services, starting from hiring hackers, and they have their own labor market for hackers. They have their own call centers, which are calling the security services of the bank, FSB, major fake bosses, etc., etc. This is a full-scale call center, which also follows certain rules, certain laws. They have their own prices. Female voices are more expensive than male voices, depending on from which jurisdiction this call center makes his calls, and also pricing is changing. It is obvious that when you get a call Azif from your bank, and on the other side there's Azif Ukrainian accent, you can understand there is something wrong. And for the classical Russian speech and female voice, they take more money than for the regular calling, and they have their own levels and the levels of servicing of this call center. Well, bills, caching, development of false sites, phishing sites, creating abuse-resistant hosting and renting it out. And this is all service model. And if you look at the model of the business, you had a regular question. So, for example, you download something from App Store, from Google Play, from Russian marketplaces, and you say that previously I've been buying this software for 1,000 rubles, and this was a permanent license for years. And when the software supplier supports this model and it works on new models of smartphones, but right now you have to pay every year, for example, the same amount for the same software. Why? Just for the same reason, because for the manufacturer it's beneficial. They get recurrent payments, continuous payments, without investing more efforts in the development of the software and earning much more money. Criminals, they have the same story. They understand perfectly that those who come to this business, they come for long, they come at least for several years, and that's why they can be offered with such a model. And there is a lot of models like that, and we will see even more of them. Please pay attention. One of the proposals on one of the Russian-speaking forums in the darknet, they are offering abuse-resistant hosting to organize various malicious actions. Moreover, the owner of this hosting offers security for him. Some web application firewall has been installed, and I hope this is not WAF from positive. But they also, please pay attention, they have their own support service, their own time of work of this support service. They have this 5x8, 7x24 modes, gold level, silver, platinum levels. How much you pay depends from how much you pay. It depends how much service you will get in result. On the other side of the barricades, everything works the same way as you are going to any IT company company. Of course, the service model gets wider, new services are being provided, business of competitors destruction, digital twins, hacker universities, and yesterday and day before yesterday we had a lot of stories about education on the other side of barricades. The same thing is happening. Advertising in the dark net, creating stores in the dark net. There are services selling and deploying businesses in the dark net, or complete schemes, complete marketplaces, or a possibility of order something for the development, order defamation against any company, organization of the fake campaigns in the network, in the internet. There are some new things being created, and during digitization of the cities, in the course of installation of video cameras in different places, public places, and in the apartment buildings, access to these cameras is being sold. Usually it's being sold through the breaking into the infrastructure, and as a result you can sell the access to the camera for one time, or you can sell services to follow a specific person and to build the route of his movement through video cameras. And they involve different video analytical services, machine learning services, so that through video cameras the face could be recognized and his path can be built, how the person was moving around the cities, at which time, where he was. And this is some competitive intelligence, but it's impossible without participation of hackers who break infrastructures of smart cities and then sell access to them. The next question, who is buying all of this? Who are those consumer segments on which hackers are relying? And you have to understand, as if in regular business, there's a story when product or service is being sold by physical people, it's sold by illegal entities, something's being sold by state organizations, and there's something that is sold by secret services within the national security programs. And hackers do the same thing. They sell to other cyber criminals their services and products. They sell vulnerabilities that were discovered and ways of getting around exploits. They sell them to vendors, IT vendors, information security vendors, or they sell it to legal or half-legal bug bounty programs, or they do it by other ways and methods. There's also a big number of companies and exchange markets which buy this data, and they are kind of mediators for this data. Then they resell this information usually to the states, because directly state is not ready to work with various hackers, lonely hackers. So that's why there are special trustworthy exchange markets who purchase this information and then indirectly sell it, so that nobody would be able to understand who bought this vulnerability, which was used in some spyware, that was used for some goals, or for breaking of various infrastructures, or maybe for looking for politicians, dissidents, journalists, and hackers. Business is behind all of it, but how it is being used and what shell it's being put in, it's not as important. In addition to these four categories, we also have another category, victims who are being offered to buy information about themselves. And there's a story about encoders, ransomware, ransom programs, and this is a story which is constantly growing and increasing. Please pay attention. Just recently, one of the companies, Crown Fans, have increased the price of zero-day vulnerabilities in different software products which are of interest to this exchange market. And of course, clients come to this exchange market and they say, I need a vulnerability for iPhone, and it's desirable to have vulnerability as a zero click. When through the SMS or MMS message, you can send a message. User don't even have to open it, but we get access and a possibility of surveillance of this mobile device and all the communication and data that is being stored out there. And you see the prices from $7 to $9 million just for one vulnerability vulnerability, and the life period of this vulnerability is very short because they're being discovered. They are applying changes to the software, patching these vulnerabilities, and they have to search for new vulnerabilities to organize those zero clicks. And the price tag, even though I have not promised you that I will speak a lot about pricing, the price of these services, uh, well, it's impossible to avoid this topic because it will be only growing. That's why not even more hackers, but more qualified specialists will come there, who will find these vulnerabilities, who will sell them with the desire to earn big money. As I've told you, there's another category of those who buy these data are victims because they are ready to pay for non-publishing of data that was stolen from them so that they will not be under the target of regulators. And you know that right now in many countries of the world, there are legislations about turnover fees for the loss of personal data, and the pioneer was Europe and European Union, which have introduced GDPR turnover penalties. Right now, we're discussing the same story in Russia, and it is obvious that when on one side of the scale we have the ransom with several million dollars or euros, but on the other side of the scale, a penalty of 100, 200 million euros and dollars because it's from the turnover, especially if you have billions of turnover, this becomes a significant problem. Many businessmen make a decision that yes, it's better to pay this ransom amount. And I will repeat, it's not a simple decision. It's not always you go and pay. Every business solves it differently. Some say we are not going to stimulate cyber criminal market and increase this race. Some people want to keep this data secret so that leakage fact will not leak out, and we are confident that if we are going to pay to them, hackers will not publish this data. They invite some negotiator, they have guarantor schemes, etc. And this is not being published, even though we understand this is not really good, because from the point of view of legislation, these can be broadcasted towards financing of extremism in many countries. Hacker groups are related to extremist or even terrorist groups officially. In addition to that, it increases the military race, and encoders are called one of the main problem from the point of view of cybersecurity. In Russia, maybe a little bit less, but in Russia, well, there are also companies that suffer from these type of threats. Please pay attention. There are two examples. A big American healthcare corporation which has paid ransom an amount of $20 million, but at the same time, due to the fact that it became public, they have been claimed by many suppliers, and a number of companies went bankrupt, those who've been working through Change Healthcare, and they officially, in their financial reporting, have said that they had damage from regular encoder, $1.8 billion. This is the biggest damage in the world for the whole history of humanity. Such damage from regular threat has not been estimated and published any time in history. The second one, casino in Las Vegas, Caesars, which in the autumn of the last year have faced encoder that also paid ransom. And this is a very popular story. And if you will look at statistics, you will be able to see that number of cases when the amount is higher than $1 million is growing. This is a red line on the slide. So we see that number of these cases is growing, and criminals, they do understand that if you find the proper balance in the cost, if you don't ask too much, then from such clients who in billions and and dozens of $billions operating within a year, you can receive this money from them and they receive this money from them. So this question of pricing, like in any IT company, how much money should be taken for their products, it's not a simple one. And if you will find this golden middle, then these criminals within these criminal companies very quickly are getting enriched. And then they leave the market, then they call themselves different names, and maybe they go to a new cycle, new circle, etc. And there's another side to this. There are groups of the second and third level who are not well known, like Lockbit, like Blackbuster, Black Cat, and others. And they say that no, we don't need this million turnovers because this is a lot of problems. And honestly, the bigger is the ransom, the more public is the case, and more attention is paid to this hacker group from the side of law enforcement agencies. They are being actively searched, they are being caught and put behind bars. So hackers are not stupid people. They say, well, it's better to be below a certain level. That's why we are not going to require millions and tens of billions of dollars. We are going to work with small, several $100,000 of ransom from one case, but we are going to have much more victims. And they start attacking small and medium businesses, and probability of ransom even higher from those businesses. If big business, probability of getting ransom from big businesses 10 to 15%, small business and medium business, this ratio is about 80% of them are paying ransom because the companies which don't have security, which don't have backups, which don't have reserve infrastructure, in order not to go from the market, it's better for them to pay a small amount to get access if it will be returned to the infrastructure and continue business, taking lessons and not taking lessons. Well, there are cases when second and third time the company is being under attack of the encoder with all the consequences. What is the target value? Please pay attention. Why did you come to the PhD Sunday at 10 in the morning? Because it's interesting to you, it's fun, you want to communicate, so you see certain value for yourself. The same thing is happening on the other side of barricades. Hacker starts understanding, evaluating why buyers are coming to them. For example, customization. Each one of us doesn't want to receive a product which is like everybody else's, where something is done under their requirements, taking in consideration their specific, and this customization is a very big value. And you can see here two examples of this type of customization. On the left side, you see the cloud services is a subscription model of services that allow you to check malicious code for non-detectability. It's the example of Virus Total or a Russian multi-scanner, which detects malicious malware. But on the other side of the barricades, it's the same idea, but with the minus sign, which is not detects malicious code. If the malicious code has been detected, then the service developers give recommendations of what is to be done so that this malicious code will not be detected. So for this very purpose, I'm not really liked by many antivirus companies when I tell them that antivirus is not a really good solution, which creates the false feeling of protection and even illusion of protection, because in reality most of malicious programs they are unique for specific victim, and antivirus doesn't always see this malicious program. That's why you need EDR, XDR type of software for analysis of the traffic, etc. Which means here's an example of one of the forums in the dark net where after offers a unique completion of the malicious software for a specific crime victim, and it gives guarantees. When we are giving guarantees, we pay more trust to the person or to the company, and on the other side of the barricades the same thing happens. Well, let's look at what criminals do, including the value proposition, target development, automation. Yesterday we've been speaking a lot about it, automation on the other side of barricades. And this is hidden and language support and possibility of caching without traceability and caching, taking money. All these cryptocurrency exchanges, they have failed Telegram channels, and those who read different Telegram channels on cybersecurity, they see that 5-6 messages a day come there. They scam in cryptocurrencies or make money or maybe cash something. So this is kind of a drop. This also is being valued on the market, and there are people who do these drops for a certain percentage or interest rate. They do cashing of those money which illegally has been acquired. What else I would like to say? You can see another example. On the right side, you can see it in English, and you understand what we're speaking about, why we are being chosen. If you will go to any company in the information security sphere, they have a section, why us, why we are being selected. Hackers have the same situation. They just don't publish the lists of their clients compared to these legal companies, but everything else is like that. Why us? Why you should come to us? And etc. But at the bottom, you can see a very good example on this slide. It's a group which uses service model that proposes different consulting services in the area of hacking. And these hackers are boasting of not only be able to do a lot of different things, but they say we have certified security engineers, they have CISSP, OSCP, SH certificates, etc., etc. So those certificates, which many people think to be some kind of a measurement of the quality information security specialists. But on the other side of the barricades, the availability of this certificate means that hacker doesn't only know how to break it, but he also knows how the defense system is built. So this is some kind of a purple team, but on the other side. So these are people who know how to break and how to get around protection mechanisms. It increases their value and value of their services for the group for which he works. Also, you can see an example of one of the forums where they show advantages of specific offer. For example, in the first fragment, we are saying that malicious development software was developed on the basis of the feedback from the users, and the feedback from what end users do want from this malicious code. Then it is being proposed as fast encoding, which is also very important for the encoder to pollute infrastructure, to remove the shadow files and other things, so that conversation with ransom proposers would be from different positions. So the speed of encoding is a very important parameter. It's very valuable, and buyers of malicious code do pay a lot of attention to it, and developers of this malicious code do pay a lot of attention to this software. And the lower fragment, lower proposal, hackers are writing that they hope for long-term cooperation, and in this case, they're ready to propose different discounts to those who buy a lot of software. It's like in classical IT or like in any business. If you say that you will buy a lot of various products, a discount is being proposed to you, and money are being diluted for the whole extended period of cooperation. Let's move on. Here's another good example which shows that hackers closely watch why are they being paid, why these products are being purchased from them. Please pay attention. On the top of the slide, you see an example of the test drive for the encoder. Free decoding keys will be received to you. You will see that you will not be lied to, and it tells you that ransom will be paid by the victim. Also, 50% discount if you have a car. You know that there's a possibility of paying 50% from penalty if you've done it within 21 days after the violation was done on a road under the administrative court. Criminals, they have the same thing. If you will pay fast, you will have 50% discount. If you're not going to pay fast, well, you will pay the full amount, 2,000 bitcoins. Example number 3, language support. Hackers do understand that their victims can be in different countries. They can speak different languages. So the more chances that the person will read a requirement of the ransom in his own language, the more chances that hacker will get his money. And in the middle, also a very funny example. Hacker writes, bring 2 friends and we will decode your encoded files for free. So bring these infected to more people and we will uncode your files. And some people can infect their friends, schoolmates, college mates who offended them. Those people for whom they don't feel sorry and then get their encoded. So knowing of the psychology also helps to those criminals. So how do they sell their products? In the open part of the internet, very few of them are selling these products. Most of it is done through the dark net, through various tools, Tor, I2P, and some other peering networks, which exist in big amounts, and we will see more and more of them. So the sales channels are indirect, and this is less profits but higher coverage, different partnership programs into which they involve a lot of people, so they have to pay big percentage for mediation, but because of the scale, they have a lot of money, even though the profit per campaign is lesser. There are direct sales channels, the profit is higher, but it's more expensive to organize and more risks of being caught and stop this activity. That's why models like ransomware as a service or cybercrime as a service, these models become very popular. And globally, we have SaaS, PaaS, IaaS. Amazon becomes one of the most expensive companies in the world. Microsoft, Google, by promoting SaaS, IaaS, or PaaS models. The same thing happens on the other side. Let's move on. The types of profits. As in regular business, there are one-time transactions mostly when the product is being sold, but criminals prefer continuous clients. That's why they move into a service model with payment of these recurrent payments. One-time amount that is received by criminal is smaller, but at the account of the fact that criminal calculates the break-even point for his business for 5-6 months, as a result, they get much more money than with one-time transactions. Also, they have profits from selling assets, payment for usage of those BETnets or BIOS-resistant hostings or VPN services, payments for subscriptions for non-detectability of the malicious code control, for licenses for the software at the encoder, etc. This is also a very popular story. Percentage from the transaction, different guarantors were like that, and arbitration in the dark net works like that, and advertising. This is also a big market share, because there are people who say, we are not going to go directly into hackers' business, but we can advertise it. This is unfortunately what happens with young people. And I've seen during different lectures in Russian universities where students of the first, second year, they say, I will develop a malicious code, but because I'm not going to use it myself, I don't see anything bad about it. And this is like selling knives. They can be used to cut steaks, and they can be used to kill somebody. But knife sellers, they don't say that they do something bad. The developers of the malicious code, they say the same thing. They say, we have developed, but how it's going to be used, it's not our headache. So it's some kind of a cognitive dissonance which negatively influences this market, and big number of young people come to this market and they start trying to earn money on this. Of course, they getting cut and new young people are coming. Pricing also can be very different. As I've told you previously, I'm not going to dive too much into this topic, but please pay attention. For the same product, for example, creating the botnet, there could be different pricing models. It can be leased out, you can use it yourself for different tasks, you can sell this botnet. So depending from how the criminal wants to receive money and how long do they want to receive money for it. Same as it happens in absolutely legal business without any exceptions. And you can look at the examples here. Examples for different services like DDoS attacks, phone attacks, DDoS phones for specific numbers, or regular internet DDoS, depending from which sites are being attacked. The price tag is changing. 1 day attack, 1 hour attack, weekly attacks. The price is changing, and there are different discounts happening. Like in a regular business, you can buy cloud service for 1 month. It's one price. If you buy it for 1 year, calculating per month, it can be for 30, 40, or 50% cheaper. Subscription. Yes, it's a popular story. Please pay attention. On the left side, when you buy for a long period of time, if you recalculate it per month, the price is reduced. But if it wouldn't be about malicious code, it would look like it's a subscription to some Netflix or Cinema Search or Cinnamon or Leary, because it's a similar model, but in a negative side. On the right side, you see the example. It's a message from Darknet Forum where he says that discounts to all clients, new client pays $1,200 for a certain product and old clients only $800. And this is like in regular business. Keeping client it's much more valuable than to attract a new one, because attracting a new one you'll have to spend 5 more times of resources than holding the old one. And all clients which have already been checked, they bring more money. The average check from them is much bigger. So on the other side of the barricades, this model is also well understood and they follow this model. Subscription for malicious models on the basis of AI, this is a very popular product. Look at the price tag. It's a very acceptable one. So that's why they invest a lot of money into this market from the side of criminals. Partnership programs, involvement of more and more people who also earn money on this. And this is some kind of a pyramid which is headed by 1, 2, 3 people who created this scheme. Then they attracted X amount of partners of first level, there are partners of second level, there are distributors, like in regular IT business, only with a minus sign. And the only thing is that they also attract physical entities like administrators. Are you confident that your administrators are not placing on your side malicious code for mining? And all clients that go to your site participate in mining of cryptocurrency. Just recently, it was a very popular scheme, and administrators earned a lot of money, website administrators, and they received small salaries, but they've been earning much more on this type of partnership schemes. So here's the example on CryptoLocker partnership. Different options are being offered by criminals. And summarizing, I would like to say some very important thing. First of all, there are economical laws any business has to follow. For example, if you work in any company, or when you will work in any company, or maybe you study in university, and this university also follows these economical laws. Demand brings to, with growth of production, expenses are growing, the sales stimulation speeds up the sales of the products, so with growth of the revenue, prices are going down, and these are classics that were described by Marx and Engels and other economical activists who are taught on economical universities. And the same happens on the other side of barricades. The same laws work. There are no exceptions here. If previously they've been making tens of millions of dollars, and there were several transactions for the group previously, some Black Deck, 5 big breaks per year, but they have earned $150, $200 on these breaks and relax. But some people work daily, attacking hundreds of clients every day, receiving $10,000 from each one of them. In amount, they receive the same money, but much more costs and expenses. And because the encoder market is overheated, that's why the models are changing on the other side of the barricade. If previously encoders been attacking big organizations, right now they are moving against small business. They are sold for pennies. These malicious programs and medium and small business very often is ready to pay this ransom because they don't have IT infrastructure normal, they don't have information security infrastructure. That's why they are ready to return their data for small amount of money. So if we will unite all of this, we understand that everything that happens on the other side of the barricades, it's the same market, but with a minus sign, without any exceptions. And the only thing they exclude all unnecessary things. As a person that works in IT company, information security company, I perfectly understand that you can get involved in creativity, you can write code, you can sell it, but there are different peculiarities. In here, they say that you need to get stack license, FSB license. In here, you can be accredited as a company. In here, you should go to the local domestic software license. Your specialist should go through 512 hours and they should have the certificate, etc., etc. But on the other side of the barricades, this is all exceptional. There is a pure creativity and pure money making. That's why everything that happens on the other side of the barricades will continue and will go on. And unfortunately, we have to take this in consideration when we act as cybersecurity people. We should look at hackers as lonely people who are breaking something from us and search for vulnerabilities. We cannot do that because it's a full-scale business. And if it is a business with business, you should deal according to laws that you use in regular life when you build long-term fighting strategies against this business, etc. And you have to do it on a more serious level than just look at hackers as lonely wolves. Thank you very much, dear colleagues, for your attention.
Я боюсь, что у нас... Давайте один или два вопроса я отвечу.
Okay, 1-2 questions.
Помогает ли борьбе с киберпреступностями то, что США приравняла хакеров вымогателей террористов?
US has put hackers to terrorists. Does it help in catching them? Yes, it helps. They become more professionals and the price tag for their services is growing.
Positive
Technologies has a strong pentester team. They check different equipment as the 5 biggest groups. Positive specialists do analytics and business planning as APDs. Yes, we do. What do you think about activities of geopolitical groups? I'm not looking at geopolitics. Any group is bad. Doesn't matter with which purposes it works, because our objective is to make this world safer and more secure. Everything else is just conversations. We break for good intentions. You know, these good intentions, they take you to hell. And this is bad, no matter how you sell it. But other products, except vulnerabilities within bug bounty, can be put into Whitefield. Products are not changing. Only the sign is changed if you paid attention. Hosting, VPN, call centers, support, hiring, training, teaching. These are the same services like those that work for white, and they came from white market into the black segment.
Какой вклад в развитие Б вносят
which
хакерские
input
группировки?
into the information
Стимулируют развитие
security
сферы?
is
Да,
being stimulated.
стимулируют.
They stimulate the
Если вы
development of this sphere.
смотрели
Yes, they
историю развития
stimulate.
IT,
If you
то
have
вы
looked
должны
at the
знать, что
history of the
основной
IT
двигатель IT —
development, you
это
should know that the
порнография.
main driver
Потому
of
что
IT
именно
is
благодаря
pornography,
порнографии у
because
нас
thanks
появился
to
скоростной
pornography,
интернет, у нас
we have
появились
fast
платежные
internet,
системы,
we have
у нас
payment
появились
systems,
чат-боты,
we
у нас
have
появились
chatbots,
сайты
we
с
have
мультимедиа, у
sites
нас появился
with
стриминг
multimedia, we have
и так далее,
streaming,
и так далее. Все это
and
начиналось именно с порнографии.
many other
Поэтому
things. Everything started with pornography.
сервисы и
So
хакерский бизнес,
services
он
and
стимулирует
hacker
развитие рынка
business
информационной
does
безопасности.
stimulate
Это тоже
development of
хорошо.
information security
Хотя,
market.
наверное,
This
в
is also
идеале
very
было
good, even though
бы неплохо, если
ideally
бы не было
this wouldn't
хакеров,
be
но тогда,
that
правда,
bad
бы и
if there wouldn't
безопасников
be
не
no
было,
hackers, and
и
then
нам
there
бы
would be
делать было
no
нечего, и ПХД бы
security
никогда не
engineers, and
состоялся.
we
Вот,
wouldn't
поэтому здесь
ever
тоже
have
есть
the
свои плюсы.
PhDs. So there are some
Почему
advantages
в
as well.
колл-центрах женские голоса
Why in
стоят
call
дороже?
centers
Ну, женщины,
female
мужчины
voices
доверяют
are more
больше обычно.
expensive? Well, men
Вот, чем
trust
другим
women
мужчинам,
more
когда с ними
than to other
говорят
men.
ласковым,
When they're
нежным
being
голосом,
spoken
они
to
отдают
with
все, что у них
nice
есть.
voice, they give everything they have.
И последний вопрос: почему хакеры
And the
группировки до
final
сих пор
question,
актуальны,
why
учитывая
hacker
их
groups are
нелегальность?
still
Ну,
important
потому что
considering
там
their
деньги.
illegality?
Все,
Because
что
there are
приносит большие
money.
деньги, будет
Everything that
оставаться
brings big money will
востребованным,
always
несмотря на всю
stay
неилlegальность.
demanded
Поэтому
irrespectively to
здесь, к
its
сожалению, я и сказал,
illegality.
что
That's
этот
why,
рынок
unfortunately, I'm
никогда
saying
не
this market
прекратится, пока
will
существуют
never
технологии.
stop while
Все, спасибо,
technologies
коллеги.
exist. Well, thank you very much, dear colleagues.